Hey guys, still here and welcome back to Wargame. Today what I have is what I suppose you could call an ultra tactical, because we started out with very few points. I thought that this was going to be a match where I could deploy some patriots and shoot down some enemy aircraft. That turned out to be not the case, because at the start of the match, the game for me kind of glitched and gave me a command unit that was not in my deck, this CP, because the command unit that I have in this deck is infantry, so the game just... well, threw a bit of a hissy fit and didn't allow me to move it either. I only deployed a command vehicle, I still had 100 points left. And yeah, as somebody already says, this is a low start point. You are less likely to see jets. Indeed. And my starting points of 100 were definitely still quite a bit short of buying a Patriot. So I had to amend my plans a little bit. Now, with something as low points as this, the game strategy changes, because you're not really going to see a super heavy, not anything along the lines of an M1A2, a T80 UK. Something that heavy is, well, increasingly rare. So the units that you do have to be up to snuff and have to be as effective as you can possibly get them. Now, I was in this game, and it's always funny to see when people recognize me and when people start questioning whether it is actually me. This happens quite a lot, and sometimes I'm just playing the game and I'm not recording it, and that's usually when it happens. So the funny thing is that people thought that this time around it was not actually me playing. It was some sort of imposter, which, from what I've been hearing, there are a few who think that it's funny to impersonate me. Anyway... it's going to be all the more surprising when these guys actually find out that I was in the game, as they might see this video up on the channel right now. So hi guys. I'm not going to be covering my own gameplay because I played like an absolute donkey this time around. I'm going to be following a sniper. And no, this is not sniper fire, this is just sniper. I got the distinct impression that sniper was AFK for about 15 minutes. And no, that is not an exaggeration. The guy was actually AFK. Or, at the very least, he didn't deploy any units. Now, let's see what we have. We got Cassiopes from Davydenko and Anafa's KV-107s. We got all sorts of units going left. So these guys are going to try and drop off early. Or at least, you'd think so. Because what was going on in chat was that, I think it was a combination of Davydenko and Easy Redbeard. They were discussing a plan to neutralize the enemy command sector. And I'm not talking about Alpha, I'm talking about Bravo. This is where they want to end up. In the meanwhile, over on the right, we have a Schmidt with an AMX-10 RC, a Jupiter, and all the way back here we got a Leopard reconnaissance tank and an AMX-40 pushing forward. They do have an HS-30, which is a pretty low caliber mortar. Or sorry, not low caliber, it's 120. Does carry a nice amount of rounds, which in a tactical version of this does come in handy, because you need to resupply far fewer times. Red pushes a command vehicle in here, and so do we. And whereas in the game that I put up a couple of days ago, we'd already had, I think, 500 points at this time. At this point, we don't even have contact yet. We don't know where the enemy is. Well, we know that there is a command vehicle in Delta, but aside from that, we know very little. Schmidt has deployed his Fern Speyer over here and is getting countered by something. I believe it's a T80. And at the moment, unless that thing headfirst runs into the Legion 90, we don't really have anything to kill it. Over here on the left, Davydenko and Easy Redbeard are still making their push all the way to the enemy base. Now he's using Puma 330H for command infantry and 2 Cassiopes with it. Followed up by some sort of elite, I think, Israeli infantry. In Alpha, Fire has deployed a couple of JSDF Rangers, KV-107s in support with the miniguns. Then again, you wouldn't expect too much of these things. And you'd be wrong. We're going to look into that in a sec. Over on the right, not too much going on. AMX-40 pushing through, Leopard reconnaissance ready to assist, AMX-10 standing by. And I have just deployed my first unit, the ADATs. Since there was very little air defense going on over here, and since Red 4 might deploy a helicopter of some sort to start countering these units over here, I decided to go in with an ADATs, because it could also engage ground targets with very high lethality. Now, interestingly, the guy actually made it in. Davydenko, with one Cassiope being shot down, still has one left. Kills off an MI8, or at least tries to, and deploys his command infantry over here. So he actually got away with it. They also managed to kill the CV over here, and I think that was the KV-107s. And the JSDF Rangers are still moving up into position. Huma 330H seems to have taken a hit from the Seria over here, and that Seria only has one missile left, and of course the main gun. The Anafas might have an easier time landing over here. And fires as you absolute madman, because he neutralized Bravo. So for the moment, we not only don't have to worry about any red reinforcements coming in, but we also don't have to worry about their income, which in a tactical game like this is so critical. We have Alpha, Foxtrot, and Echo. They only have Charlie. So we have a large amount of income more than they do. And if you can keep that up for long enough, then you have a distinct advantage in this game. Now, Easy Redbird deploys some infantry. Unfortunately, the other part got shot down. You can see that the AA missiles were no longer effective, but the ground attack missiles from the Seria 30 now were. So the Gauthier are going to have to fend for themselves, and this is when Davydenko's command infantry does come under attack, up to the point where we can no longer sustain that position. Still, that gave us a bit of time. That gave us just the little bit of breathing room that we need. Score-wise, they have 320, we have 270, so we're slightly behind. And, well, we still have 32 minutes left on this game. This thing can still go anywhere. JSDF Rangers being surrounded by TO-62 and Rozvedka. This is a terrible situation for them to be in. Not really something that they want to be facing, especially considering that M72 law is dreadfully outdated. And it does not really stand any chance against that napalm tank that's coming at them. Especially if they're also engaging Rozvedka. Interestingly, aside from that, there is nothing here. We have one Ferret, we have one AMX-10RC, and that is it. Once again, the TO-62 is angling for a position to get some napalm on the JSDF Rangers, although I think at this range it might not be able to accurately fire, because it's too close. And there we go. As opposed to what I just said, this thing actually got taken out by the JSDF Rangers. Now, Easy Redbird's Gavadi have made it out. They managed to, I think, kill whatever was coming at them. And they are making it into a position behind enemy lines. Speaking of enemy lines, VAP 2013 pushes forward and manages to kill, I believe, a transport. Not quite a transport, that was an Ito 90. And it might have poor optics, it might only have an autocannon, but it did make it all the way here. Unfortunately, this is also where its trip is about to end. Because while it is capable of engaging the vehicle over here and the infantry over there, a Seria is a bit too much to chew off. Raketas moving to the left, and over on the right, well, we still haven't really seen that much. We got an AMX-10RC, we got Fernspeyer, we got Leopard Recon, and the AMX-10RC over here. We got plenty of reconnaissance. I'm firing with the ADATs, taking out their eyes. I need that BRDM-3 to go down so that the T-80 doesn't have any visual. And at the same time, we spot a ZDF-89. Dangerous long-range anti-tank weapon, but at this range, you can shoot it with an AMX. Unfortunately, the AMX might not have line of sight on it thanks to this smoke puff over here. So instead, it goes after the ZSU-57-2. T-80, however, does seem to briefly have line of sight on the AMX-40, fires an ATGM and misses due to its losing line of sight. And at this point, we're just building up forces. Back to the left. Raketas is now in position. We did get a couple more infantry units in here. Although, again, not many, because points were very hard to come by. MI8T over here. Look at this guy. He has a minigun. He has rocket pods. And he has nothing on this KV-107. Ammo box gets hit. Targeting system gets hit. Give this time a second to reload. And opening up again. This time around going after the infantry. VDV-90. Very nice if you can take those guys out early. But look at the type of skirmishes we have going on here. It's an MTLBV with a whole 23% accuracy currently, fighting off against a KV-107 with a whole 50% of accuracy. It's just machine gun versus machine gun. It's 7.62 versus 7.62. It's just that his rate of fire is very much higher than his rate of fire. And this thing just has to survive long enough for the Kutai to actually get into range and wipe this thing out. Thank you very much. Right flank, not too much going on, but they were definitely setting up a defensive position around here, where there were HGMs flying out of these woods. Salamandra pushing out. Autocannon and an anti-tank weapon. ADAS pushes forward and immediately one-shots the enemy helicopter. Dash back into cover. My second unit's also here. It's an Iltis TOW 2. Could be a very effective unit if I get just one kill on a tank. That's when I break even. I don't need a whole lot. On the left we have, or actually the middle, we have MJIP with his AMX-40 pushing in. Unfortunately getting pushed back by the infantry that's in there. So a Martyr and further Legionnaires are trying to counter that situation. This was, I think, a standard transport helo. Yeah, looks like a Panther. There goes another transport, so we're just dealing with a bit of infantry over here. Note, however, that while the game has already been running for about 13 minutes, we still have not seen any units from Sniper. He hasn't gotten any kills, he has not got any units on the field, there's just nothing. JSDF Rangers trying to chase down an M84A. Not really having the right equipment to do it with. These guys with a Carl Gustav might. If they can get a flank shot on this tank, then they could inflict some serious damage on it. Unfortunately, the Legionnaires missed the HGM because that could have killed them. And now they're in quite a tricky situation. They're outmanned 2-1. And my money is currently on the Morskaya, unless some sort of Deus Ex Machina saves these Legionnaires, but I don't think so. Now over here we keep chasing down a T-72 command tank. I mean, you're not going to see a T-80 UK, but something like this can still pose quite a threat, albeit in the sense that it does have to be steady. You don't really want to be firing these things on the move. Schmidt is trying to counter that tank with a BO-105, unfortunately loses line of sight, just as that missile did have a fairly good chance at shooting it down. Hera 2 pushing in, forces this guy back, even if it only has machine guns, it still needs to retreat. And I think at this point my ADATs got killed. Yeah, both my ADATs and my... where was it? My anti-tank vehicle got killed off. So I lost both of my units, despite only having killed 65 points. T-80 comes very, very close to the Panzer Grenadier and the HGM Milan team. So this guy needs to get a little bit closer and the Panzer Grenadiers are going to take care of it. For some reason this thing still does not know where the enemy infantry is, but now it does and one-shots them. The Panzer Grenadier returns the favor, takes out the tank. Victory surrenders. This was a very interesting situation. Which is it? Victor left the game. Right. Okay. We still have the Gauthier behind enemy lines. And they made it across this bridge. They're actually making their way over to the command vehicle. But they have been detected. A Hera 2 is engaging them. Although with only 14 rocket pods, or rockets for its rocket pods, it has to really make those things count. Definitely trying to do so. Leaving only 2 Gauthier alive. And as we can see that this command vehicle is on the move, that means that this is not the last command vehicle on the field. So still, there is more than one command vehicle in this area. Once again, a KV-107 goes to town. You can see that this guy has already expended a hell of a lot of rounds. And I think Fire was saying in chat that these things were actually doing more damage than the infantry that came out of it. Simply because that minigun just kept suppressing enemy infantry and doing damage to enemy vehicles. At this point though, it does have to get taken back to the shop for repairs. It is fairly beat up. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks a little rusty, a little dirty, but aside from that, the helicopter itself looks fine. Anyway, he's down for repairs. And you can see that the enemy team does seem to be fairly tired of those KV-107s doing a gun run on them. They get a couple of PGZ-80s, which can be both effective in ground and anti-air role. I think they might have brought them in for anti-air purposes, just to counter the helicopters that we have flying around here. But they might have well just brought them in just to counter enemy infantry. Now, under the cover of smoke, we are still pushing forward. And I mean Blue 4, not so much my forces, because I didn't do shit this game. Fortunately, my teammates did. Fernspeyer and Hussar probably not really spotting too much at the moment, thanks to the smoke screen. And I think that this was a friendly smoke from Schmidt himself, just to allow the AMX-10 RC to push in. Now we're getting awfully close to this sector, and with our own command vehicle in here, we're actually neutralizing this cap, only granting Red 4 their main cap, the Bravo sector, for 3 points. We have everything else. So we are definitely going to be getting some points. I mean, it's not like you get a +5 or a +6 or anything like that. But it helps. Every bit helps. Now at this point, it seemed like Red 4 was really descending on this area for some reason. You even saw an M84AN go in there, which is a fairly sizable investment in a game like this. And yet, if you put it inside here, it's not going to be able to really do its job. Because sure, it might start to spot enemy infantry, but you still need to counter Legionnaire. And for that, you would probably want a bit more range than what you have over here. Gamma 2 did some damage and is finally falling back. Z5A is coming in with further infantry. ZTS 63-2 is coming in. A pretty decent HGM, albeit a little low in accuracy, but for a game like this thing could be effective. Rate of fire is good, AP power is good, armor is almost non-existent though. Now at this point, Sniper has finally woken up. We are a whole 15 minutes into this game and he is finally here. And he is spawning in the Light Brigade. He spawned in a whole bunch of AMX-10 RC. And now we're going to see what he can do with those things. Of course, the fact that we're already over here at this point does indicate that the chances of Red 4 heavier tanks being still alive are fairly low. There is, however, a Seria 30 in the field, but this thing is more of a sniper than something that can take out a lot of units, and the Rafale just took care of it. So we're going to be seeing the charge of the Light Brigade in the form of 12 AMX-10 RCs. This is just going to be a weird-ass push. Note that he has scored 0 points. Most points currently have been gathered by fire for 440 points. Now this was the staging ground for the AMX-10 RCs. He splits them up. Wait for the last one to arrive. Red 4 slowly but steadily starts to disintegrate. And here comes the charge of the Light Brigade. Look at all these things. Lined up, ready to go, and eager to actually start participating in the battle. To start doing some damage. Because so far, they really haven't done a whole lot. Now, what they have to counter is a T-80A, at least unless that thing survives, or unless that thing dies, actually. And I was trying to do that with an MBT-70. Unfortunately, something else got the kill. I'm not really sure what it was. Maybe the Highlanders? Don't really know. Anyway, he basically has free roam to go into the main spawn, into Bravo. And of course, there you're going to find some fairly high-value targets. That is, if Red 4 has some infantry. Oh, sorry, has some artillery. There's the first kill. 40 points. Look at this. This just looks fun. It doesn't have to be smart. It just has to be fun. And that's something that I have to keep reminding myself of when I'm playing this game. It has to be fun. It has to be interesting. You can play this game serious all the time, but we play this game for fun and relaxation, or at least we should. And that's not always what I'm doing, which definitely leads to increased frustration in this game at sometimes. Anyway, he is currently sitting at 320 points. There's another 15 from the infantry. Now the AMX-10 RC Almost no armor to speak of, no stabilizer, 55% accuracy, but as mentioned, only when sitting still, 12 HE, sorry, 12 AP and 3 HE. 9 rounds a minute rate of fire, and not even a range of 2275, but just 2100. These guys just keep charging in. In the meanwhile, I do my gotta have the supplies thing again and capture the enemy fob. And they just keep charging in. Currently, 465. This is not bad for a guy who was AFK 5 minutes ago. And yes, I know, this is just the guy mopping up whatever was left. But it is still fun to see somebody just spawn in 12 AMX 10 RCs and go to town. I mean, literally go to town, because he's right there. At this point, we had countered the zone, so it's no longer being capped. It is being counter-capped, so by something from Red 4, we just have to find it. There's one. And there's the T-72 command tank as well. Now this thing can take out 1, 2, maybe even 3 to AMX 10s, but not 12. And there you go. It didn't even get the chance to adequately fire at one of these AMX 10s. And he's currently sitting at 715 points. And this is basically when the hunt for the command vehicle starts. Now, we know that the enemy command vehicle is somewhere in this sector. We have an AMX, no, not AMX, we have an M32, 325 Picoud over here. And it is being countered. So, with that, the last command vehicle has to be here, or at least one of the command vehicles has to be here. The command vehicle is sitting over here. But look at how long it takes our team to actually find it. This is really impressive. We just take a hell of a lot of time. There we go, that's the last kill. To actually get in there and find it. So, sniper, 730 points killed, 60 points lost, 918 points command points. So, I guess his CV was the last one in our main spawn. As for kills, not terribly impressive. I mean, sure, they were fairly high value targets, especially with 3 CVs killed, a Praka, some Lijan, Tuncha. But for a guy to be AFK for 15 minutes and then to just charge in and get the most points on the team, by a fair margin as well, because we had Lawrence and Fire at 525 and 570, and then Sniper comes in 15 minutes late and gets 730 points. Wargame, you just gotta have some fun with it every now and then. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are on this charge of the Light Brigade, and I shall see you soon for more videos.